welcome to episode 3 of Diary of a Security Consultant. My name is Tony O'Brien from securityoperative.ie and Security Operative Consultancy Services, and this is episode 3 of our video series Diary of a Security Consultant, which takes you through the life, work, training element of working in the security industry. So great feedback from last week. Last week's article was principle-based training and last week's topic was principle-based training. Good feedback on the questions and stuff like that. Got some really good questions in this week. So for today, what we're going to go through is a little bit about what we've done this week. We've got a really great question on body-worn cameras. I'm going to spend a little bit of time on because it's a little bit technical, some of the answers in there. We are going to go through our topic of the week, which was Dunning-Kruger effect. Not many people knew what that was beforehand, but the article has just exploded. It's gone well over 1,000 people have read it within 24 hours. I have a little piece of equipment to take a look at that I want to review, and then a little bit about some new stuff that's happened this week and about what we're doing next week, which is going to be a really busy week for us. So I suppose this week, training all week again, really busy training week, and then we also had to do up a sort of person safety briefs for staff of one of our clients who are flying abroad. It's not something we do a lot of, but we had a couple of questions in the last couple of weeks, particular things the way they're happening in Hong Kong, Middle East, and even the UK. People are wary of sending staff abroad to places where there's potential unrest or potential incidents. So we spent up most evenings this week doing up safety briefs for staff, going to particular countries and doing travel risk assessments for people. Interesting work, not something we do an awful lot of, but it's stuff that we do for our clients, you know. Not stuff that we advertise all that much, but it's certainly interesting work. I want to get on to the questions this week, because the question that came in this week, early in the week, was on body-worn cameras. And it's a topic, I suppose, that people have... coffee, most important thing first thing in the morning. It's a topic, I suppose, that's become more and more prevalent in the last while, where people have been being equipped with body-worn cameras by companies, first of all. But the question that came in around this was around, what if my employee, or what if I, as an employee specifically, decide that I need a body-worn camera in my place of work where I'm working, and I decide to go online, buy one of those things, and begin to wear it at work? Where is that legal? Is it illegal? Is it something that I'm allowed to do? Is it something that I'm not allowed to do? Now, I've done an article previously on body-worn cameras and the law around data and what you can and can't do with that data. I'll put that down in the show notes. I'll put it on the social media page during the week, but I'll put that down there again. But this was specifically on, well, if an employee goes. And there's a few things around that. First one is, when the company is buying these things, they have to adhere to GDPR and the Data Protection Act 2018 in Ireland, and probably in other countries you've got your own Data Protection Acts. But essentially, that's quite prescriptive on the type of equipment that you can buy, in that some of those ones you buy on Wish or Alibaba or those sites that you get in, they come with a removable SD card, and the footage is on the SD card, and in terms of privacy and data privacy, stuff like that is a big no-no. The reality is that the user of the camera should not have access to edit, alter, change, delete or manipulate the footage. So the better camera systems, the ones that spring to mind are ones like Halo or Pinnacle system, two fantastic systems. They have inbuilt memories in them so that the actual user cannot manipulate the footage. Some of them don't even have a screen on them, so you can't even look back at the footage. And the idea is then it's impartiality. You cannot be accused of changing, altering, looking, but most important, you can't be accused of sharing the information that's on that card. It needs its own separate. But if you go and buy one of those, basic models off the internet, that doesn't have that. You take out your SD card, you could do out with that footage, so it leaves you wide open to interpretation, to where you've shared and what you've done. And we've all seen security staff over the last number of years or number of months sharing things on the internet that shouldn't really be on the internet. It might be entertaining, it might be funny, but it's not good to share those incidents on the internet. It does nothing for the industry and opens you and your organisation to huge amounts of liability. So the question was about, well, who's liable if I buy my own? And there's a couple of things in that. So when you want to introduce new technology like body-worn cameras, you have to perform what's called the DPIA, Data Privacy Impact Assessment, to say, well, how is my gathering of this data, like the video data and the audio data and the pictures that will be on that camera, how is my gathering of this data going to impact on the privacy of other people? Both the people who I record, who have a choice in the matter, but also people who are in the background who may be heard and seen and stuff like that, who have nothing to do with the incident. And the Data Protection Act has very strong, I suppose, controls in there to protect the privacy of those people who may not have done anything specifically wrong. So body-worn cameras in themselves, they're not illegal and they're not wrong or anything like that, but you have to do an assessment to say, look, I'm going to record this video and I'm going to record this audio. I'm aware that it has an impact on this person's privacy and on the user's privacy, but I'm going to do it because my risk assessment says that staff have been threatened, have been verbally abused, and I need to gather the video and the audio. Now, some of the stipulations that you'll often see in data privacy impact assessments is that the video and audio has to be capable of being collected separately, so there has to be an option to switch on just the video, just the audio. And another thing around it is that you have to be able to capable of actually storing those separately. So if you don't need the audio, you have to be capable of storing the video, and most of that is done within the software systems that these companies sell to you with the cameras. If you go and buy your own camera, one thing I had to get checked out was who's responsible for the data on that. Now, I'd previously gotten checked out with the Data Protection Commissioner around security officers' notebooks, around who is responsible for the data and the information in the security officer's notebook. And they were quite clear on that. They quite clearly said that it does not matter who purchased the notebook. If the notebook is used in accordance with a person's duties and the employer is aware that they may use this notebook, then the employer is liable for the breach or the loss, or is responsible for the data, the storage, the processing, etc. that goes with that. So I went to a former colleague of mine who's a data protection practitioner and asked the same question, and his feedback would have been the exact same. If your employer, even if you buy the camera, and your employer is either A, aware of it, or B, not supervising you to a level that they should be aware of it, and the camera has been used as part of your duty for that employer, whether they know about it or not, your employer is responsible for it. If you lose that camera or any of the footage, they are responsible. If you share inadvertently anything on that as their employee, they are responsible. And they could face huge fines and warnings and stuff like that. So for employers, for security managers out there who are going around saying, yeah, John works on this particular door, he feels he needs to get a camera in, etc., by himself, we don't have nothing to do with it, it's his camera, it's his problem. That is not the case. Okay, so as an employee, potentially you're opening your employer up to huge liability. Generally, personal use stuff doesn't fall under the Data Protection Act, but because it's not personal, just because you buy it, it's what you're using it for, and you're using it for the purpose of work. So therefore, it falls in there as work equipment. So they have to do their own privacy assessment that tell you whether you can or can't use it, and they can tell you, look, we do not want you using it. Our data privacy assessment doesn't support it. Our risk assessment doesn't support it. You can go back and say, look, show me a risk assessment where you're making it safe for me to in the workplace. But that's a whole different question. I believe that this camera is making me safer. They have to show you the risk assessment that says, look, here's the controls we have in, we don't believe you need a camera. But for employers out there, security managers, security supervisors, if you A, know that they're using it, even if it's personal, or B, are not supervising them to a level to whether you know or not, then potentially you are opening yourself up for a huge amount of liability if they do share inadvertently, because chances are if your employee is standing on that door or in that shop with a body-worn camera and you don't, and they didn't know that you're responsible for it, then they also don't know what the laws are around sharing, processing, storing, retaining, destroying, editing information are either. So I thought that was a really good question to come in, and something that employers really need to look at, because I see it so often. I walked around Dublin the other day, I was looking at some security guys working. A lot of them had body-worn cameras, and some of them I failed to see the justification for those body-worn cameras. Maybe they could. I would probably struggle to justify why they would need it in certain locations that I saw them wearing it in. But also, from looking at the cameras themselves, I don't think an employer bought them. They look, cheap, off the internet type camera systems, which is a huge risk for their employers. If their employer did buy them, their employer has no clue about data privacy, because these cameras are not suitable for security work. They are ones with screens that you can show. They are ones with removable SD cards and stuff like that. So, or just clipped onto a lapel or something like that, and so dangerous. One was a little miniature one that was hidden. Most of the people I saw didn't have signage on them to tell people that they were going to be audio and video recorded, that it's in use. Some of them were little covert type, sneaky little recording cameras. Again, huge issues around data protection and that. So that was a really good question. If anyone wants more information on that, or if anyone wants help with DPIA or wants a template for DPIA, if there's any small companies out there who don't have a specific data protection officer and they think, right, one of our guys has it and they want to do it, just get in touch. I'm happy to help out with that. I've got templates and stuff like that. I can give you the template or I can help you work with it, you know. So that was the answer to that question. If anyone else has any more questions around that, I'm happy to answer it. I can get in contact with the Data Protection Commission involved and really good will come back with answers. I've got colleagues that work in as data protection officers, so I'm happy to go and find that out. So what I wanted to talk to you about this week, I said I was going to do an equipment review, and I am. I wanted to talk to you about this little piece of kit here. This is a Juku power bank. So Juku, I was lucky enough, I got this for Christmas from my fiance. Comes in a box like that. Juku are an Irish company making big waves for selling really high quality things like charging cables, power banks, charging accessories, chargers and stuff like that. I'll link their website down below. I don't work for them, I've no affiliation with them, I don't get paid for them, anything like that. I don't know anybody there, nothing like that. I just bought some of their kit or tried some of their kit last year. It was absolutely fantastic piece of kit. I got this for Christmas, I've been using it ever since, and honestly it's an amazing piece of equipment. So it comes in this box, you see, double charging port. One's a quick charging port, it's USB 3.0. Does take a long time to charge. Takes about, the first time for charging it off a laptop, takes about 8 hours to charge. When you open up the box, you get the actual unit itself, which is the 15,000 lumen model from Juku, and really high quality charging cable. You can when you buy something, you can feel the quality in it when you buy it. But the actual unit itself, it's got those points in it. So let me just get a look at what it's got. It's got a quick charge output which charges your phone up to 80% in 30 minutes from dead, and a regular charging output. They have got special technology in it that I wasn't really aware of, so I started researching this stuff that makes it safe to charge. What I didn't know is most of those cheap chargers you just give bursts of energy to your phone and that can ruin the battery in your phone. This has a safe charge system in it, which means that it doesn't start affecting the battery in your phone. It's made from aluminium, aircraft grade aluminium as far as I know. Really high quality. Like you can feel the quality in this. It's got rubber buffering all around it for the power, LED lights. I did a security review last week with my iPad from almost dead, and by the time I was finished walking around doing my audit on the iPad, this had fully charged the iPad, which is amazing, you know. Over Christmas, I was using it on a discreet kind of a protective services job. I charged both my phone and the client's phone off this, and it didn't take a blow halfway. The literature says that it will charge an iPhone 5 times, a smartphone 5 times, and 1.5 iPad charges off it, and it has I've no doubt that it does do that. It's an unbelievable piece of kit. It is weighty, it's heavy. You'll feel it if you have it in. I had it in a suit pocket, and you could certainly feel it in that suit pocket. But it's like bang for buck. It's an expensive piece of equipment. Juku is not a cheap brand, but bang for buck. I can guarantee I'm going to be using this for years. One of the claims that they make that when you charge this up, it retains over 90% of its charge after 1 month, and I can definitely attest to that. It's an amazing piece of kit. So I really recommend it. If you're looking for chargers, cables, and like that, go on Juku's website. You will pay good money for it. You'll pay the same as, or probably more. But I actually think that the quality of the stuff is actually better than the own brand stuff. I got a charging cable from them before for an Apple phone, and the quality of the charging cable is actually better than Apple's own, I think, you know. So go on and check them out. I'll put a link to their website down below in the show notes or the podcast notes or whatever it is you're going to be watching this. But I really recommend Juku stuff. I'm always a believer in buying high quality gear for work and stuff like that. I've gone through power bank after power bank after power bank. I've been quite lucky with some of the power banks that I've got and stuff like that, but this is one that I think I'm probably going to have for years and stuff like that. I'm going to try doing these product reviews once every show, or at least every second show. But I don't like doing product reviews just on stuff that I buy and have a look at. I like to use it for a little while first before I can do it, so I can give people an actual idea. So I'm going to do another one probably on next week's show. It's going to be this is something I've been using for a little while. If you can see that, that's a Nightcore MH12 GT torches, Nightcore. that I got during the summer, and I've been using it again. Amazing piece of kit, but I'm going to do that next year. But for this week, I think check out Juku's website, JUKU, so gear. They're on Instagram and stuff like that. I'll link it below. So this week's article was on the Dunning-Kruger effect, and it's just gone viral. I would say, well, I don't know what viral counts as. Does that count in the millions nowadays? But it's certainly exploded for me. First 24 hours, over 1,000 people have read it. And Dunning-Kruger, basically there were two, behavioural scientists, I'm going to assume, or maybe psychologists, who said that the assumption is everybody assumes that they are better than they are. That happens at a level where you come in, you gain new knowledge, your new level of knowledge shoots up, and with that brings your confidence. So people who have a limited amount of knowledge tend to have a lot more confidence in their own skills than they actually have, because their skills have never been pressure tested and they've never failed. And it's only with experience that the level of confidence that you have in your own ability goes down. I remember reading Rory Miller's book, Meditations in Violence, and he had a saying in it that always stuck with me, which was, with age and experience, he says, I've become a lot more competent and a lot less confident in my own skills. And I thought that was a brilliant saying, and that certainly happened to me when I was young. It was a disaster. I was Bruce Lee, you would have gone into the security industry first, but it was eye-opening for me with experience that you're well, maybe you're not as good as you are. Another thing Dunning-Kruger says is that because we can't recognise our own levels of ability and more importantly inability, we tend not to be able to recognise them in other people either. So we don't see the genuine skill of other people who we might be working with, which is a concern. So I'm going to link the article down below. Now, what I will say about people who have to everyone has to deal with Dunning-Kruger. Every single person. I've had to deal with it, you've had to deal with it, where you learn a new skill and with a little bit of practice of that skill you think you're brilliant at it because you've never failed. And it's only when you start to fail that these things start to become an issue for you. It does not make a person stupid. It's a cognitive bias that we have in our own brain. The human brain works in that way, that makes us feel like we're better than we are. And the problem with that is when it fails, if you think you're really good and then you fail badly, it can have a really harsh effect. Are there ways to overcome it? Absolutely. I put some tips at the bottom of the article. A couple of those would have been, constantly learning new things and realising how much that you don't know, expanding your knowledge. I do that. I try to go through at least 1 to 2 books a month, professional related books or articles. I try to get to do at least 1 webinar, seminar a month. Whether that's online or whatever the case may be, just to learn new stuff. Like this month, there's an amazing new resource come out from the National Cybersecurity Centre in the UK. The Cybersecurity Book of Knowledge is 854 pages. I'm probably about 100 pages into it, and it is amazing stuff that I would never ever have thought to look at. Probably not going to get through all 854 pages. There's areas that are still kind of way beyond my scope of skill or whatever, but something I'm looking at. I've also started looking recently into artificial intelligence and its application to the security industry. Amazing stuff happening around the world and research for artificial, and it changes the way you do your job. There's security researchers out there who are teaching artificial intelligence computers the ins and outs of a building and letting the computer tell them what the best way is to break into it, and the computer learns as it's going. So penetration testers, the computer is after your job. Okay. So always being learning is one thing. The other one I always says, don't be afraid to ask other people, managers, bosses, people that you work with, how they think you're doing, because oftentimes if nobody's correcting us, we can think we're doing an absolutely amazing job of things, and nobody ever says anything different to us. So I think not being afraid to ask people, and as managers not being afraid to give constant feedback to people. We see people gaining confidence, and that's brilliant, but not being afraid to say to them, look, you're doing really, really well at this. For the next week I want you to concentrate on this. And then the last and final thing, I suppose, I've done a lot of research in the last kind of year or so into disinformation and fake news and stuff like that, is question what you're being told. I do a lot of training. I do a lot of training with new security staff, and I do a lot of training with experienced security staff. With new security staff, I always tell them on the training course, do not just believe what I am telling you. I will tell you what I know from my knowledge, my perception. I like to think it's good, but please go and check. Check for yourself that I'm right, or get somebody else's opinion that might disagree with me. I've had experienced people come on training courses who've been doing things over the years that are absolutely illegal or absolutely make no sense from a safety point of view because a person told them or they heard it on the internet. Dangerous ploy. If something goes wrong and you have to walk into court and say, where did you learn that? A guy told me years ago on a training course, or I heard it on Facebook, is not a very good defence. So question absolutely everything. And look for other sides of the story. The example I give, I worked in retail security for a while, and would have dealt a lot with addiction and people who were going through addiction issues and stuff like that. And I would have had a certain view, probably a strong view, anti-drug user view at the time when I was younger. And then I started to do some work with charities and stuff like that, and work with people with addiction issues and work with reformed criminals and stuff like that. And it kind of twists your view a little bit. It doesn't change your view, crime is still wrong and stuff like that, but it certainly gives you a different perspective, and it gives you a bit more of an understanding of why people choose to do things in a certain way, and why they act in a certain way. So it's a question absolutely everything. Don't just take people's words for it. And that was one of the things that I said to overcome Dunning-Kruger. But go and have a read of the article, and if any questions on it, people have said they'd like to see more psychology arguments. I've done a lot of psychology type stuff over the years, training over the years, more psychology articles on that kind of stuff, cognitive biases, conflict, stress in the brain, stuff like that. If that's something you want, I've no problem moving down that road. Obviously I don't want to bore people with psychology and neuroscience, but I can get other people in who do that, So this week I want to tell you about, I told you about one, the cyber security body of knowledge. Absolutely brilliant. I'll stick it in the show notes. Go check it out. If you're interested in cyber security, information security, anything like that, go check it out. It is an amazing free resource. It is unbelievable amount of quality in it. The other resource I want to tell you about this week is our friends in the States at Dow of the Velvet Rope. Miguel De Coste came back last week with a brand new podcast, and he's putting another one out this week. If you're in the door security industry, pubs and nightclubs, Miguel's podcast is an absolutely invaluable resource. It is a fantastic resource. There's 99 episodes now. I think I'm on 2 of them. You don't have to listen to me. I'm not that entertaining. You're probably sick of listening to me at this stage. But go have a listen. He did this one. This last one was on trust issues, particularly for managers. And the point that he made, I thought was really, really good. We often talk about, and I often talk about owning your position and learning everything about your position. But for staff. But how often do we apply that to managers in a place? How often do we say to manager, look, you're a manager, you're responsible. If a staff member messes up, it's on you. I thought it was a really good insight and a kind of a switch on how things are looked at a little bit. So this week, a couple of big events coming up. Tuesday night, when I finish work, I'm going down to Cork. A friend of mine, Colin Morrissey, who runs Cork Security Society, has asked me to speak down there. So I'm going on to Cork Security Society. I think there's still tickets left. I'll check with Colin and I'll put the link in the show notes. I'm speaking to the Cork Security Society, which is a collection of security professionals from Cork and the surrounding areas. The talk that I'm going to do is on liability. What I call the window of liability, the different areas of liability, what the law says about occupiers' liability, how we can reduce liability as security staff and as businesses and stuff like that. Really looking forward to it. The talk should be between probably about 45 minutes to an hour. I'm looking enough. I'm bringing a friend of mine, Dylan from Blue Street Media down. He's going to record the whole lot. So next week's show will be a little bit different. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have a quick intro sitting here, and then we're just going to move to the recording of the show, and I'm going to put the whole thing up there. I am going to have some slides, and I'm happy to put those slides and the notes and stuff like that in the show notes, so if anybody wants them. If anybody wants me to talk about a particular area of liability when I'm down there, please get in touch beforehand, before Monday when I have to submit the slides, and I will see if I can get it covered while I'm down there. If you can make it down there, it would be brilliant. I think he said anywhere between 20 and 40 people. But there are still tickets, so if you can make it down, brilliant. It is Tuesday evening, 7:30 in Jury's Inn on Anderson Quay in Cork. Tickets are on Eventbrite, and I'll link it down in the show notes. Another thing I want to talk about was competition. I'm hoping to do a competition on here in the next week, maybe 2 weeks. I've got some prizes in. I like to get good quality prizes in, so I like to get like proper branded equipment and stuff like that, particularly security operative stuff as well. I haven't got enough prizes have come in yet. I'm waiting on some stuff to come from Amazon, etc, etc. When it does, I'll announce the competition. It won't be just on the video series. It'll be on both the video series. It'll be on Facebook. It'll be on Instagram. But I'm hoping to have something out for people probably next week. I also had my very first submission this week, article submission to the Security Professionals Directory, which is a group of expert profiles that they have on the internet. It's an American-based thing, but they have people from all over the world who contribute to this forum. They accepted me as a contributor a couple of weeks back. I have sent in my first article, which was on sustainability and environmental awareness. I mentioned that last week as a competitive advantage for security companies. It's something I've become more and more involved in the last couple of months, and you're starting to see it now in government tenders, where you're starting to see a weighting put into government tenders for things like environmental awareness and sustainability and community and social responsibility. So it's an area I think that security companies and security providers and security consultants should really be looking at. And I had a conversation with a client about this. One of the things that I've started to do that clients have actually noticed in the first couple of weeks, when I go to give them packages, whether it be templates or manuals or whatever the case might be, I always give the option of, here is a price if you want hard copies printed, sent to your office, and here is a price if you want soft copies, as I like to call it, the green discount. And the number of companies that have taken me up on that in the last couple of while is unbelievable. And you can start to see companies who are taking it much more closely to heart, sustainability and environmental. So take a look at the article when it comes out. I'll link it when it does come out. Also next week we're starting some security coordination for two really big student events. We do them every year. Great events. I love doing the student events. They're in hotels. I love working in hotels. So we'll probably have some information on the ins and outs of that for next week's recording, I'd say, how that went, some of the processes that we use when we're working with student gigs and stuff like that. And then next week's article will come out. I've got two topics for next week's article. I haven't decided which one, so I'm not going to mention either of them. But next week's article will be out on Wednesday, and then we'll talk about it in the video on Friday, hopefully. Last thing I want to say before I wrap up, I will do as many of these as I can before you guys start losing interest. But if you know anybody who you'd like to see interviewed, if you would like to hear from anybody as a guest article, if you're interested in submitting a guest article, I don't care if you've been in the industry a year, 5 years, 10 years, if you have something interesting to talk about, feel free to get in touch. We'll talk about it and we might put something together. We've had a couple of guest contributors before. I haven't had anyone on the show yet. I'm hoping to go and interview some other security consultants around the country. If you know any other security consultants that would be interested in sitting down, having a cup of coffee, having a chat and talking about the world of security consultancy, security training, security practitioner, if you are a security consultant, please get in touch with me. I'd like to sit down and talk to you, see if you're interested in A, sitting down on the show with me, or B, contributing an article to the website. So if you know anyone like that, if you are someone like that, I don't care about level of experience. If you've got a specific training in a background, maybe it's IT or maybe it's first aid or fire safety or whatever the case might be, just write in, let me know. You can get me at info@securityoperative.ie. You can get me on Facebook, The Security Operative, on LinkedIn, The Security Operative, on Instagram, The Security Operative, and on Twitter, @Security Operative. So any of those things, get in touch. If you have something to say, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. No obligation. I won't put pressure on anyone to come on or anything like that. But I'd like to talk to people, have more people's input onto it rather than just listen to me. Until then, until next week, thank you very much for listening. If you like what we say, give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let us know if there's anything you'd like to see done different. Thank you. Stay safe, and see you next week.